Okay, so today I'm going to talk about dust and scratches, and I'm going to do some procedural animation in Fusion. So we've got a few different effects going on here. We have these long scratch lines. We have this kind of blotchy thing which appears, and we've got these random bits of hair that curl across the screen. Okay, so let's minimize that. This is our comp. It's quite simple. Got some hairs, got a plotty thing, got a little tiny strip which is going to be one scratch, and then we've got another scratch. And we're doing some stuff, and then we've got various modifiers which are animating them. Okay, so let's close that, make a new comp. Right, let's go through it. So I'm dragging a background node, and the first thing we'll do is some hair. So I'm just going to drag in a fast noise node, and I'm going to make it 300 by 300 pixels. And I'm going to drop in a Bezier spline node, pipe that into the effects mask, and drop it over my background. Can't see anything at all at the moment. So let's just make this a little bigger, like that. Fit it in the window, there we go. So, and I'm going to turn off that and that. Right, so here's our spline. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And then I'm going to change this to modify only, using that button. So now we're not adding any more points. And then to see it in the comp, we need to give it some thickness. So I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of thickness here. I'm going to hide the controls so you can see what's going on. I'm using this. It's all a bit blotchy, so I'm going to turn off the proxy mode and turn off mesh and blur. There we go. Right. A tiny bit of thickness, and then just soften the edge slightly, like that. And it'll clean up in high quality mode as well. Can you see that? So let's just load it 100%. That's nice and smooth. Right, so, and then maybe we'll look at the fast noise. And we're just going to turn up the scale so you get some little crinkles with that. There we go, and that's dropped over our merge node like that. Okay, so that's our hair, and it's not moving at the moment. So what we're going to do is going to get it animating using some procedural tricks. So let's show our controls again, and I'm going to drag select all of these nodes and right click, and we're going to choose polyline. I'm going to choose publish. I'm going to choose publish points. You can also do this by using Shift P. And this adds the point to our control tab. And there they are with all their positions on them. So all I need to do to get this animating is simply to shake at these points. So here we go. If I right click on this point entry here, I'm going to do modify, and I'm going to modify with shake. And then we'll do it for all the points, modify with shake, modify with shake, and modify with shake. And this puts all the points onto the same point, in fact, because they all have the same settings. So we're going to now go and randomize settings and decrease the smoothness to 0. So randomize, decrease the smoothness. Let's go rid of those. Next one, randomize, decrease the smoothness. And that's the last point, randomize it and get the smoothness. So you can see all the points have moved around, and they'll jump around now every frame like this. Okay, so to get that jumping around on here, we want to animate its position. So go out into tools here, and we're just going to add another shake operator to this center position. So modify with shake, and we can set the modifiers up, randomize it, drop the smoothness down again so it's in a different place every frame, and now we have our hairs scattered across our roll of film. Pretty easy. Okay, so now we're going to make some blotches. Oops, there we go. Then we're just going to take all this, try and select it, and we're going to Control C and Control V, and now we're going to modify all this lot. So if we go back into our spline node, now we want this to be a solid. So we simply press over here, we're going to connect the endpoints. You can see that makes it solid. And you can randomize the position again, and just make sure it's not over our hairs. And then we get something like this, which is pretty crazy. And actually we kind of want our fast noise to be a little bigger, I think. So let's make it 600 by 600. There we go. Let's see how that works. And there we go, something like that. And I'm going to take the border width off and just increase the soft edge. So now we get that, and then adjust the fast noise. Actually, I want to make it quite gentle like that. Maybe a bit of detail. And lastly, let's just set the blend quite low. There we go, let's see how that looks. Probably a little too bright still, maybe something like that. I forgot something else. So the other thing I can do is, if I just look at this, see that the noise remains the same, I'm going to animate the noise as well. And I just simply do that by using the seether rate, and you can see as I change the seether rate, the whole noise function seems to boil. So we're just going to set this very high, so I'm going to set it to about 20. Make it go quite crazy. And I'll just make it a bit more random when we plug our spline in. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the next part we'll look at scratches. Okay, so the next part of dust and scratches is indeed the scratches. So we're going to start off with another fast noise node. Here it is. And we're going to make a very narrow strip of noise. So we're going to make it like 12 pixels, like that. And zoom in, and we want it to be, I'm going to use a gradient and make it linear, because it's this. I'm going to just adjust the noise scale down a bit. There we go. Something like that. Okay, so now I want to animate it as well. And we're going to animate it using the merge tool. So the way we're going to do this is with an expression. So modify the center position with an expression. With that, and we can see it's jumped over into the corner here. So now I'm going to go and adjust it in the expression modifier. So we don't need any of these points, so I'm going to just change the configuration to make it a bit more tidy. And we just hide all these points over here. That. And we're also going to hide all these numbers as well. There we go. Right, so we're just left with one control number. And I'm going to edit our point out control to use this. So the Y position is just going to be 0.5. Oops, 0.5, enter. And that'll drop it into the middle. And then we're going to go into our controls and we're just going to add another shake. So modify with shake, there it is. And now play it, still nothing happens, but you can see this number's changing. So you need to go and tell the point out that we're using that number, and the code for that number is just simply N1 for number 1. So now we've got a new point for the center of this merge tool, which is at N1.5, and N1 is driven by the noise function behind here, which is this. So off it goes, and I think the default is quite okay. If we want, you can make it a bit smoother. A bit gentler movement, that'll do. Okay, and that's pretty good. It's a bit lifeless though, so next thing we want to do is we want to kind of get it coming in and out of view. So we could simply add another shake to our blend tool, so I'm just going to try that and modify shake. You can see it's fading in and out very slowly, flickering. If you go into modifiers, we can fiddle with click on the merge tool, go into modifiers, and we've got our shake on blend. And maybe we just drop the smoothness a bit to make it more erratic, so we've got something like that. But I don't think that's really how scratches work, so we're going to do something slightly different. I'm going to use a bit of maths. I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to remove shake 7 from the blend tool. And we're going to add another expression, modify with expression. Go into the modifier, so we've got our expression on merge 2, there we go. And again, I don't need most of this, so I'm just going to, in config, I'm going to hide all these points. And I just need 2 of these numbers. There you go, right. Okay, so controls. So number 1, we are going to add a shake to modify with shake. And if I simply go number out now, because we've just got one channel, so number out N1, we get the same results as before, where it goes. It's kind of blending in and out. Okay, so actually what I want to do now is I want to edit this so that it's either going to be on or off, and the way I'm going to do it with this is with this if statement, and I'm going to say if, open brackets, N1 is greater than 0.5, then I want the answer to be 1, and if it's less than 0.5, comma, I'm going to have the answer equal to 0, like that. And now you'll see that if I've done this right. There we go, it jumps in and out. And in fact, I can also adjust the amount of time it's on screen. So I'm going to change this value here, and I'm going to base it on another value so we can make it a bit more interactive. So I'm going to say if N1 is greater than N2, then it'll be on. So now I'm going to controls, and I can control now the amount of time it's on screen by tweaking this value. So at the moment N is N2 is 0. So if I tweak it a bit more, you can see it eventually disappears. There you go. Like that, on and off. So let's maybe just tweak our shake. This is a bit more erratic. And randomize it again. And let's have a look at that. There you go, that's a bit better. A little bright, I feel. So I'm going to adjust the colour of the noise tool. We're just going to adjust this value here, and we're just going to make it a bit darker. Like that. There we go. So that's pretty good. So the next thing I'd like to do is, and I'm just going to go back in here in order to show you what's going on. Back into modifiers, and I'm just going to drop this down to 0 again, so you can see that's on all the time. So if you can imagine that you've taken a big sharp object and you just scratched a roll of film, the scratch would not always be in a straight line down the cell like this. And actually it would be probably, it's moving one way, it'll lean one way, and as it moves the other way, it'll lean the other way. So we can do this by animating the angle on the merge tool. So like that and like that. There it goes. So we're losing the edge of the noise, so I'm just going to make it a little bit higher. Like that. Okay, so we want to animate this angle. And we are going to do it with another expression, except this one we'll do on the main control. So I'm just going to do equals for the moment. There. Okay, so now I've got something I can tweak with some maths. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab the center value. I can do that with this little plus tool here. So I'm going to drag that, drop it on the center. And you can see a little warning sign comes up here, and that's because center has got an x and a y value as a point value. And angle is only expecting one value and doesn't know which one. So we're going to give it a choice, and it's going to be x. And now you can see that that value is changing sensibly. It's just not doing very much because the angle's tiny. So let's multiply this by 50. So we'll exaggerate the effect. There we go, and that's quite exaggerated. And you can see as the line goes over to the right, it slants more. Well, some animation, it's procedural. It's not exactly what I want. What I actually want is it to change with the rate of movement. I want it to look at how far it's moved across the screen and lean harder if it moves faster, basically. So we are going to do that with a special expression. And so I'm going to grab the merge to tool, which is this tool. I'm going to do colon and get the value. And then I think that needs to be capitalized. Value. Open brackets, and we are going to get the center value. So quote center, again capitalize center, comma, and we want to get that at some frame time. So we're going to do time, which is the current frame, x. So we've got a center value from the merge tool here at the current frame .x. So this should give us the same result we had before. And you can see that the center value here and the center value there match. So it'll just give us the same little wafting line. But actually now we've got this time value, we can actually choose a previous frame. So that's what we're going to do, time -1. So if you look at this here, angle, just step backwards a frame. Oops, not like that. So this frame, this angle is saying it's 288. And if I step back as a frame, you can see the center is actually a 288. So it's grabbing the last frame of the center position. And now I can find the difference between the last frame and this current frame, like this, minus dot x. I'll just put that all in a big bracket. So now we've got the difference between two frames, and it's quite small. So we're going to exaggerate this effect by doing 50 times the difference between the two frames. There you go. And then you can see the line leans based on how fast it moves. Actually, I think we can exaggerate that a bit more, so let's do it times 100. There we go. And now we can go back into our modifiers and we can ramp up the amount of time it's on screen so it flickers more. There you go. Cool. And I think it would be nice if we had another one, so we can just drag select all that, Control C and Control V and drop it in there. Like that, pipe it together. And I've got to change the random values because they're on top of each other, so modify the shake expression and randomize that if it goes over there. And then we'll randomize this one as well to make sure it goes on and off at a different time. There we go. That's pretty crazy. And you can see these two lines match as well because they've got the same noise function on them. So I'm going to adjust this noise function again. I'm going to change the seether rate, and we'll just change that like that, and then we'll change the seether rate to something big like 30. I'm going to do the same to that one. Change it to 30. There we go. So full screen. So there we have dust and scratches. I hope you enjoyed that.